The U.S. Treasury announced new embargoes on Iran's banking and industrial sectors. They target several financial institutions and manufacturing companies. Washington started to reimpose anti-Iran sanctions in early August after withdrawing from the 2015 nuclear deal. The first round of sanctions hit Iran's automotive sector, as well as its trade in gold and other key metals. They also prohibited the purchase or acquisition of U.S. banknotes. The second round of U.S. sanctions, set for November 4, will hit Iran's oil industry and shipping sector. Iran has repeatedly condemned the sanctions as illegal and inhumane. U.S. anti-Iran sanctions have also failed to enlist Washington's European allies. Jason Unruhe is a political commentator who joins us. Talk about the timing of this. When you have this thing with the Khashoggi case, and the U.S. comes and slaps sanctions on Iran. But let's put that aside. What is your reaction to, first of all, what the U.S. has done in this case, which is, I must say, on a pretty long list of Iranian companies and banks?
Well, I think that the U.S. is looking to increase the amount of pressure that it has on Iran. Europe has made it very clear that what they're trying to do is get around U.S. sanctions by providing banking alternatives to the country. India has already said that it's not going to stop purchasing Iranian oil. China has said they're very much kind of on the edge, deciding whether or not they're going to stop purchasing Iranian oil. To at least a large degree, they're going to continue. They may cut back, etc. They haven't exactly been very clear on it. But I think that this definitely represents a U.S. frustration with the lack of cooperation by their allies, who were also signatories to the JCPOA agreement. I think that the U.S. is trying to push forward that despite the lack of cooperation from others, that they want to keep up pressure on the country. One just goes to the U.S. Treasury website, and they see that the alleged reason for these new sanctions, the Banyan Bazij, I'm probably saying that wrong, but the paramilitary groups who are allegedly responsible for terrorism throughout the Middle East is the cover that they're giving for this situation. Of course, these accusations are relatively new to me. I haven't heard the UN condemn any of these actions in the past. They seem to be something that is largely coming out of the United States itself. I think that we see a shift in this. Normally, the U.S. was claiming that Iran had violated the JCPOA agreement. Nobody backed them up on this. Nobody was willing to come to them except for Israel, who essentially handed over complete nonsense that was dismissed by the International Atomic Energy Agency and the other signatories to the JCPOA. It seems that this time they're willing to push from an anti-terrorism angle, that many of these companies are allegedly involved in raising money or manufacturing for what the U.S. alleges are terrorist activities inside of the Middle East. And they particularly point to the situation ongoing in Syria, which is really rather ironic, considering that Iran has only supported the legitimate government of Bashar al-Assad, and it's the U.S. who has supported the terrorist organizations inside the country, those who have the quote-unquote moderate rebels who have gone around committing all the same kind of human rights abuses that Daesh has. So I think there's a shift from the standing lie that Iran had violated the JCPOA to this being a national security concern. This is about fighting terrorism in the world. So I think that the idea that Iran violated the JCPOA is sort of being dropped, and a new justification for the hostilities against Iran are continuing. But the overall reason for these things, the overall reason for these sanctions, is still coming from the same old reason, trying to undermine Iranian power within the region and trying to forward U.S. imperialist interests, which Iran has been standing up to.
Thank you very much for that, Jason Unruhe, political commentator there from Ontario.